just to kick things off, so your new book is coming out on April 18th. Could you tell us a bit more about that? Just about the book.
Um, yes, it's my first book I'm releasing, so I'm very nervous about it. It's sort of a crime and a bit of a romance also, and it's just about this girl who has just a really abusive childhood, and instead of kind of letting it hold her back, she just throws herself into her studies and becomes really, really intelligent and gets all these sort of degrees and things. And despite the fact that she's brilliant, she sort of still tends to push people away and hasn't really overcome her emotional issues. And it's just kind of a story about her as an adult and her struggles after her rough childhood.
Yep, and so I mean, you mentioned that she kind of pushes people away, and she doesn't really foster relationships with her co-workers to begin with. I wondered whether have you been in a similar position yourself, and sort of how much of it is based on your own experiences?
Her experiences are not based on really any experiences that I have had per se, but I feel like it's a very common issue that people have when they've dealt with people who are untrustworthy through their childhood. They tend to be untrustworthy in
Yeah.
adulthood, and I just kind of wanted to make a story about that. Yeah, just to help people who have been through similar things.
And I mean, how important to you is it that people can relate to your writing?
Oh, it's extremely important that people can relate to my writing because that's the whole point, isn't it? To just kind of get a message and an idea out there, that that can impact people for their lives.
Yeah, definitely. And and again, obviously, it's all about them overcoming obstacles as well. So I mean, what kind of obstacles have you had to overcome yourself in your journey to become a writer? Obviously, you mentioned this is your first novel.
Yes. I think becoming more disciplined is something that I have had to apply myself and do, and also just having positive self talk because I think many people are their own worst enemies with the way they think about themselves in their minds, and I think that I am no different than that, and that honestly I've been my biggest obstacle in trying to be positive instead of negative and have a good attitude about myself.
Yeah, I guess that's the case with a lot of people as well. So in terms of book, actually, this by the time this interview goes out, it should be launched, and we'll include links for you. But what kind of activity have you got planned to support the launch and to get as many people reading it as you can?
Well, I have this, and I have a few other bloggers who are going to be reviewing the book.
Yeah.
Um, and I have my Twitter page, which I'm going to definitely be doing lots of promoting on that. And then I'm planning on having a weekend, maybe a month or so after the release, where it'll be a free book for like the weekend as
Mm.
like a promotional thing.
Cool, yeah. And you mentioned bloggers. So how much do you think getting the support of bloggers, how important is that for kind of up and coming authors?
Oh, I think that's extremely important because bloggers are our kind of legs that we have to stand on. And honestly, I, as a reader, am more inclined to read a book blog and buy books based on the suggestions of a blogger than I would be just like, you know what I mean, if I saw that this book was a bestseller, this book was popular because the bookstore said so, or you know what I mean, different things like that. I like to hear what real people have to say as a reader. So I think bloggers are a huge, huge supporter of new authors in getting information out to real people in a real way of how they interpreted the book.
Yeah, brilliant, definitely. And so, in terms of obviously, you're only releasing it as an ebook to begin with, but you mentioned to me you're looking to release a physical copy sort of later this year if everything goes well. I was just wondering what that looks like to you. What does success look like to you?
Ah, well, that is a very good question. Um,
I suppose as a first-time author, it's quite hard to judge as well what that success would look like.
oh, absolutely. And honestly, I'm trying not to get my hopes too high just because, of course you don't want to be disappointed, but it's always definitely been a dream of mine to be a known author. And just the idea of people having heard of me is
Mm.
kind of cool to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'd be interested to know as well. I mean, what you've got coming up next, because I mean, have you finished all of the work on it now? I presume all of the, the cover art and the writing and everything is it's all good.
Yes.
Off the back of that, you mentioned Twitter as well, and I saw you tweeted. I think yesterday you tweeted telling yourself off for writing 2 novels at once. And
Yes.
I wondered if you could tell us a bit about that, and how do you decide where to focus your attention as well?
I really just base it on what kind of mood I'm in,
Okay.
which probably sounds ridiculous, but I'm writing two different novels. One is going to be a series, and it's a sci-fi, and it's absolutely nothing like Read at all. And then the other one is sort of like a pirate type novel, and is again nothing like either of those two. So I don't want to limit myself on genre or anything because I feel like I have a lot of creative ideas, but sometimes I kind of get away from myself and have too much stewing in my mind at the same time and can't focus.
No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, we've heard that before from speaking to people as well. So would you say you do you have your ideas for your novels? I mean, do they come to you faster than you can write them?
I would say yes. Mostly because like I have ideas and it's a matter of time to just actually sit down and be able to work them out and put them on paper, but I have them just kind of stored away in my head. So I hope that I'm able to get them all out on paper eventually, but I do. I think I come up with too many ideas too fast to keep keep myself kept up with all that I have to write.
And I suppose was that a challenge for you while you were writing Read? Did you find it difficult to keep writing that when you've got all these other ideas bouncing around as well?
With Read, it was very strange because I was so zoned with this book that I was just kind of like in that world for like a good solid 2 weeks in my mind, and I just could not be released from it. And I just poured literally all of my spare time in the book and typed it all out in like a matter of not very long time, like 2 weeks. It was insane. But because of that level of focus and the way everything just went so smoothly with writing that book, I'm finding it even more challenging as I'm writing these other ones that I can't always get my mind into that same level of focus.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you've kind of already told us a bit about what's next with you, obviously with your 2 novels. I mean, is there anything else that you're working on? And also with the two that you're working on at the moment, when are you hoping to get those out as well?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I would like to get them out before the end of the year, theoretically. At least one of them, the
Mm.
one that's the sci-fi, I would like to get it done and out by the end of the year, maybe like Thanksgiving, Christmas time. That would be really nice. But I try not to push myself too hard in relation to timelines as much as quality because obviously that matters
Yeah.
much more.
Cool. And one thing we ask everybody as we're a book blogs, what was the last book that you read, and what did you think of it?
The last book that I read was actually Beautiful Creatures, and it was good. It was a lot better than the movie, which there's no shock there.
Actually, saying that, I mean, how do you find that most of the time that the book's better than the movie, or are there any that you can think of where it's been the other way around for you?
All of the time, the book is better than the movie, and the only one that I can think of that I kind of liked a little bit better when it was in the movie was Where the Heart Is. The book was excellent, but it kind of like was one of those books. I don't want to give it away, but like
Hmm.
the ending is different in the book than it is in the movie. I'll just put it that way.
Cool. And just to end up on, so where can people find out more about you online as well?
Um, Twitter is probably the best place, and my Twitter handle, I don't know what it's called, is just at Allie Saltz, and that would probably be the best place to go. That's where I do most of my networking and everything like that.
How do you find Twitter actually for networking? Do you mainly use it speaking to other authors, or do you speak to bloggers, publishers? Who do you most often speak to?
Everything, friends, bloggers, other writers, everything, YouTube people, everything.
Cool.
Yes, and I have a photography business. Also, I really enjoy photography, and I network with other photographers there as well.
So did you, in terms of cover art, did you, if you're into your photography, do the cover art yourself, or did you have a big say in it, or how did that come about as well?
I did do it myself. I had the idea and I kind of just messed around with it to see if I could accomplish what I had envisioned in my mind, and I was able to, thankfully.
Yeah.
I had somebody kind of on backup in case I couldn't pull it off, but I wanted something really simple and just streamlined because I really like people to kind of use their imaginations when it comes to envisioning what they think characters look like and things like that. So I wanted a really, really simple cover that didn't give too much away, so that's why it's so simple.